What's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Sunday Stock Watch, series I post every Sunday where I let you guys know what stocks I'm personally keeping an eye on going into the trading week. So as always, we will go over each topic that we're going to be discussing and then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, SPX on TradingView, where we will be looking at all the charts today. SPX, S&P 500, good way to sum up the equity markets. I'll give you guys my general take on the equity markets to kick things off. Along with that, we will take a look at some futures just to go along with what I'm thinking about the equity markets. So we'll take a look at some futures. We'll cover this quick article discussing why the futures are slipping right now. We will then go on to look over quickly. You guys know I don't like to spend too much time on these. I'm not going to break down each one individually, but we will go over some big earnings next week. What I like about this is they go across every sector. There's a lot of different sectors involved here, big players within every sector. So I will give you guys a very quick rundown of my thoughts on each of these earnings. We'll go over when they are. So we'll take a look at that. We will then go on to move on to Moderna, Sorrento, some of the Biotechs. So this is an article regarding Moderna and a pension picking them up. We'll touch on that. We'll take a look at Moderna chart. We will then go on to look at Sorrento. So we'll bring up Sorrento chart, look at their earnings which occurred next week on August 13th. So that's a big deal for Sorrento. I'll give you guys a quick idea of what I'm thinking there. We will then finish off the video by talking Bitcoin, moving into some blockchain stocks, the Bitcoin miner stocks we've been talking so much about lately. So we will finish the video with that, and gold and silver. Okay, so Bitcoin, gold, silver. This article touches on why they are correlated right now and why, in my mind as well, they do somewhat fall in the same sector. Okay, and then we will finish it off with the plugs as always. Okay, so get to that at the very end. Anyway, before we do get into this, I will ask you guys to please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it, or if you're invested in any of the stocks we're talking about today. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here and want to catch more content like this, and check out my complete portfolio and daily newsletter. First link in the description if you're interested in my exact trades on these stocks. All right, so again, SPX, S&P 500, equity markets right here. Again, you guys, I like to look at the S&P 500, Dow Jones, Nasdaq. They're all similar, but S&P is kind of like the middle ground in my mind. All right, so S&P 500, again, you guys, next week is going to be a big week for the SPX, considering it will either, I'm imagining it will either break below this point of support, a very crucial line of support for the SPX in my opinion, or it'll break above this previous high to new all-time highs. Okay, so it's either going to break a very crucial line of support, or I mean, it could dance around here for a week, I guess, but over the coming weeks, it's a very telling time technically over the next coming weeks. So it's either going to break a new high this week, which is entirely possible. That would make sense just looking at this uptrend. This is a very evident uptrend that we're in right now. But again, it's a relief rally. There are some earnings coming up next week. So let's get into the futures here. So you can see futures are down a little bit across the board. Very marginally. It's nothing big, but they are still down a little bit. So let's take a look at this. So CNBC, Fred inverts, stock futures slip after Trump signs order extending coronavirus relief. This is a little counterintuitive. If you guys watched the Waves Weekly I posted, where I talked about Trump signing that executive order for the $400 stimulus, the Democrats, Republicans on both sides of Congress could not establish a decision on the next stimulus package. So Trump just butted in. Boom, executive order. And again, there are still some hoops that executive order does have to jump through. That's how those work. But I mean, good sign. I think this is a good sign. This is bullish for the markets. It's way better than nothing. That is for sure. So at least something's in place. At least money is getting out to the people who need it. U.S. stock futures slipped on Sunday night after President Donald Trump signed several executive orders aimed at extending coronavirus relief. Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped 5 points or less than 0.1%. S&P, Nasdaq futures were also marginally lower. So again, you guys, if you look here, and if you guys ever want to look this up, just type in stock futures, CNN, you'll find it here. Again, very marginally lower. This is nothing significant by any means. So this isn't very telling. But again, you guys, next times are from a technical perspective, which in this current market, the longer that this goes on and more traders enter this market, the more technicals do come into play. So next week, from a technical perspective, it will be very telling, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. All right, so let's move on here to some earnings that we're going to watch next week. So Canopy Growth. Huge fan of the weed sector. Last week, I believe Kronos announced earnings. They disappointed significantly, and it sent the entire sector down. That's what you have to keep in mind with all these sectors. That's why I mentioned that I like how this guy, credit where credit's due for sure. Whereas this guy always 7 earnings reports to watch next week. So Vince Martin of Investor Place, I love referencing this guy's articles because again, I like how he curates all of these so super well in my opinion. Okay, so let's read this quick and then we'll get into those earnings. At least as far as earnings reports go, the market gets a bit of a breather next week. Earnings season so far has been positive and eventful. We've seen huge reports from the world's largest companies with beats from Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple. We've seen consensus expectations get absolutely crushed on several occasions, most recently with earning reports releases from Square and Etsy this week. Okay, so that was actually last week. Square killed it last week. Etsy, not familiar, but I mean, I believe it. As has been the case since March, we've seen the U.S. stocks continue to march higher. The S&P now is in the green for the year, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average could be next. Okay, and then the Nasdaq is just up in the moon, up in the stratosphere. Okay, so again, let's go over these. Canopy, you guys know, if you guys have been tuned in, you would know that I'm very bullish on the cannabis sector. Again, you guys, they are facing. They are paying their dues during this pandemic, so the financials are tough. They're seeing a tough time, although cannabis use is obviously trending up, and I don't think that will change anytime in the near future or the future period. I think that will just continue to trend up. So I'm very long-term bullish on cannabis. Short-term is a lot more uncertain. Okay, so I'm personally not trading cannabis right now. Marriott International, again, you guys. So, you know, we'll move down here as we go. I'll try to keep this as quick as possible. Canopy Growth, Marriott, Lyft, Cisco, NetEase, Applied Materials, and Draftkings. So Draftkings is going to be an interesting one too because Penn actually just impressed with earnings and they are popping off right now. So Canopy reports Monday, August 10th before market open. Again, long-term bullish on cannabis, short-term very uncertain. Marriott does so tomorrow morning is well before market open. And again, you guys, investors still don't seem to know what to make of travel stocks. So I mean, I agree with that. I'm not going to go any deeper on that. We're just going to have to see how this plays out. Obviously, travel is way down, but it's all about how these companies are choosing to adapt and honestly how they're thinning out their balance sheets and their overhead. Okay, so maybe some they're going to have to cut some employees, and that's the big thing that you have to look out for in industries that are very obviously taking a hit from this pandemic. Okay, so moving on to Lyft. Again, Uber, when did Uber report? So Uber, I believe, reported last week, rallied 17% apparently. Lyft has, ever since they IPO'd last year, Lyft has always been just in the shadow of Uber. But I think that could change. Again, you guys, we're looking at how these companies in these earnings, how they adapt to the times, okay? So obviously Lyft, people are not taking Lyfts or Ubers as much as they were, but you have to see if Lyft, if they announce like a grocery app, or some just innovational, like they're going to start delivering groceries from stores. They're going to start using that the transport system, their network, for an alternative use as opposed to just driving people from point A to point B. Okay, so that's what you got to look for. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if they just, because literally if they just have a good idea, they could just say that and not even be executing, and the stock will likely go up. Okay, so I'm not personally playing Lyft. I'm personally not playing any of these. I will let you guys know that, but I just want to put them on your radar. Just again, you guys, it doesn't matter if you're only trading specific stocks. You want an idea of what's going on in the equity markets as a whole. You need to have an idea of the big picture that will allow you to perform better within the sectors you're playing. Okay, so Lyft, again, I wouldn't be surprised to see Lyft bounce just because they've taken such a beating over time, and if they come up with a single good idea, they'll probably do well. Okay, so Cisco, just big tech. I'm not even going to talk about Cisco right now, but you guys can keep an eye on that if you want to. Chinese gaming provider NetEase. I mean, gaming, huge right now. Gaming is bigger than ever, and it will continue to trend that way, in my opinion. They'll probably do well. Thursday, August 13th, before market open. Applied Materials, so this is a chip maker, US-based chip maker. I mean, for good reason, chip stocks have been doing well. The world is trading digital. Anything digital requires chips in some sense, so I would imagine them to do pretty well. I'm not sure what the stock's at now, so that matters a lot, where like if the stock is beyond all-time highs, then I'm a lot less confident in it, but I mean, I expect them to do fairly well in earnings. All right, so Draftkings, this is an interesting one that I'll definitely be keeping an eye on, and I will keep you guys posted on. This is a stock that I've talked about before. I'm interested in, not currently invested in it. We'll see how next week plays out, but earnings report date Friday, August 14th, before market open, so you guys keep an eye out for that. Again, Penn did announce last week. Big fan of Penn, big fan of the Barstool Boys, big fan of El Prez, Mr. Portnoy. So it's good that they impressed. Again, you guys, the current financial situation for a lot of these guys is not great, but it's just, again, it's what are you doing to adapt to the times, and what will you do down the line to establish yourself as a dominant player within whatever sector you're in? Okay, so Draftkings, again, they pretty much, them and Penn monopolize online gambling at this point. They're for sure the kingpin. They are the king of drafts. Stupid. So I do expect them to impress. Again, everyone's gambling. People love gambling. That trend will only continue, especially, again, you guys, with this money that's just being given to people and this stimulus that's continuing. And we'll have to see if sports are not looking good at all lately. Like, I know the MLB, they try to pick it up, like half their teams, not half, you guys know what I mean, though. Like, a significant majority of the MLB has proven that just jumping back into things will not work. The NBA bubble is not doing too well. So sports is very iffy. That is definitely the X factor in DraftKings, because they're primarily sports betting. It's a bunch of other stuff, but sports betting is such a huge part of DraftKings kind of mission. So we'll have to see how that works out. Again, I am bullish on DraftKings on a long-term perspective. The short-term horizon is a lot more uncertain, but I will keep you guys posted on that. Again, you guys, we're not going to be looking at any of the charts on these guys. I just want to put them on your radar. You guys can look into them if you want. Just remember to keep an eye out, okay? So let's move on to this, and then we'll look at Moderna and Sorrento on the charts. All right, so a huge pension sold Apple, Microsoft, and GE stock. It bought this biotech. Can you guess? It's Moderna. So the Garden State's embattled state pension made some big investment moves in the second quarter. State of New Jersey Common Pension Fund D, the pension's largest fund by assets, cut back on Apple, Microsoft, and GE. In the quarter, the pension also initiated a position in biotech Moderna. It disclosed the stock trades, among others, and in a form it filed with the SEC. Okay? So that's good news. Anyone who's allocating large sums of money, if they choose to put it into a company that you're bullish on, then that's always good news for your investment. So again, I'm bullish on Moderna. I still do believe Moderna is the leader within this space. I'm looking forward to some good news from Moderna in the near future. Again, a lot of people think that good news is going to come in October. I'm betting it's going to come sooner. The public consent, you want to try to be one step ahead of public consensus. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Remember, you guys, this could absolutely not happen at all. But that's what I'm betting on. That's what my money's on. Know that my money's on everything I am saying right now. And this is not financial advice. This is just my take. I'm just a guy. Okay, so Moderna, again, you guys, Moderna is like such a good buy in my eyes. I have been averaging a little bit into my Moderna position over the course of last week as we've been seeing it just dance along this lower line of support. Not much has changed just because it's such a chill stock. Like it's just been, there's been volatility for sure, but compared to what we've seen in previous months, it's just been kind of in limbo. So I can't imagine, like, trust me, again, my money's on it. I would not bet ever that Moderna would break below this lower line of support. Remember, you guys, it could happen, but I mean, it just makes no sense to me with the fundamental progress that they're making as a company towards a vaccine, that they dip below this. Again, you guys, Moderna market cap, what are we looking at for market cap on Moderna? $28 billion, so they're still under $30 billion. Again, they did release some pricing news last week. They are pricing it at a profitable, they are pricing a potential vaccine, if effective, at a profitable rate, which is good for a company. That's how you want it. Like, you want to make a profit. That's what good business is. Okay, so again, I can't imagine that it breaks down below this lower line of support that it has been using pretty steadily over the course of the past few months. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I mean, just to see it bounce up from a technical perspective, to see it bounce up RSI, RSI, traditional RSI is pretty standard. Stochastic RSI is super low. I imagine that will curl up pretty soon. That's always a good sign for the upside. And I mean, again, you guys, I keep repeating this, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it bounce back up to the $95 region and retest this middle line of support and resistance. And then if really good news is broken, to come up and once again retest this very top line. You're looking at the 130, 140, 150 region, okay? So that is very optimistic. This just makes, this is pretty conservative. Optimistic, but conservative in my mind, is coming up and retesting this area, $95 to $100 region, okay? So keep an eye out for that. Again, you guys, this sector, these biotechs, you guys know the deal. This is super driven by news. So we do have to keep an eye out for good news. All right, so let's move on to Sorrento, and then we will take a look at just this earnings. There isn't much here. So they report earnings on August 13th. and the estimated EPS by analysts is negative 22 cents. So they're still, that's what you guys have to remember about like all these biotech companies within this landscape is they're all still not profitable, just because it takes until you actually establish something that you can sell at a mass scale, you're not really putting out product. Okay, and there's so much money that goes into R&D and actually developing that product, which is R&D, that I mean, you're just burning cash literally until you strike gold and come upon, again, like something with Sorrento, like the treatment, the test kits. Okay, so I mean, Sorrento, you can see this analyst price target right here. Remember, you guys, analysts, I always say this, analysts are just people as well. This is their job to analyze stocks, but they're just people too. They could have their biases. Everyone does. So analyst price target of $27, that is a very significant price target. I don't know what his time horizon is, but with Sorrento, again, I do think that looking at Sorrento, let's go to like the 4 hourly on Sorrento just to make it a little more. Okay, so Sorrento, once again, I think it will be using this upward line of resistance that it used over the past couple months as a point of support. So it wouldn't be surprising to see Sorrento, like if we zoom in a little here, you know, let's actually go to the hourly on Sorrento. So zoom in here a little bit. We could see something. Like again, it will now be using this line as a line of support. So if we zoom in here, it will likely use this line right here as a line of support. And then if we could, I mean, just, you know, just like rough upward trend lines, that kind of goes in, that makes sense with this. So these are kind of, these are somewhat perpendicular in their angles. So just like going like that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it bounce within this region. Definitely up until was it Wednesday, Thursday, whenever the 13th is, that they do announce earnings. Depending on that, I'm assuming it will stay within this channel up until that point, at which it will either break below this and correct probably back, I would guess, to like the $10 region. See a nice like 25%-ish correction, 20% correction. So we might see that on the upside. It will break above this. And let's go out to the 5-year just to look at, or not beyond 5-year, but just press that 5-year. So beyond that, my next price target has been $26. What was the analyst price target? So it was pretty close to that actually. So $27. I'm like exactly there. So I forget exactly when I drew this. Probably whenever I made that specific Sorrento analysis. But again, it would make sense from a fundamental perspective if they're doing huge things in this sector, which they are. That they could at least reach levels that they were at back in 2015. Because again, what they're doing now, I have to imagine is significantly more important than what was done back here. And again, you guys, potential, like what is their market cap is currently at $3.5 billion. So there's still so much room for potential upside. $3.5 billion is still tiny in the grand scheme of things. Again, remember, Moderna, $30 billion. So Sorrento could, I mean, 8x and still be smaller than Moderna. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, they're working on different things. They're different companies with different financial situations. Everything, you guys know what I'm saying. But just to put some scale to it, okay? So again, Sorrento still has a lot more potential for growth. When that will happen, I'm not sure, but I do still believe that over the coming months, especially if they do move along with that test kit with the treatment, that they can easily hit a previous high of $27. Okay, so that's Sorrento. Let's move on to this, and then we'll talk some Riot, some Mara, and we'll talk some gold and silver as well. Okay, so Bitcoin price nears 12K again as gold correlation hits record high. This is important. Okay. So let's move down just here. Bitcoin realized correlation with gold hits all-time high. Bitcoin copying gold to hit surprise price highs now as factual evidence as realized correlation between the two assets reaches all-time highs. Data from on-chain monitoring source Skew confirmed that the trend this week with 1 month realized correlation between gold and Bitcoin now at 67.1%. The transformation has been impressive. Just 3 weeks ago on July 20th, a local low saw realized correlation hit negative 0.1%. Okay, so this is very important because people are finally starting to recognize as Bitcoin as what I've always preached as, which is digital gold. It's gold 2.0. It's a scarce, it's an absolutely scarce safe haven asset in a world that is printing trillions of dollars in fiat currency. Okay, it's sound money. This is a sound money asset, which investors want to flock to. Again, when a lot of fiat currencies like the US dollar, like just any global fiat currency, is losing value. And again, that's inevitable that will happen over time. I don't care what the arguments for deflation are. It's inevitable that over time, if you keep printing money, it will lose value, because that is just common sense. Okay. So that is good that Bitcoin, it actually has lost correlation with the S&P as well, which again, you guys know my hesitance on the S&P and the general equity markets going forward in such a shaky economy, and the fact that we're at all-time highs. I think we could be due for a correction in the general equity markets, which makes it good if Bitcoin assets like Bitcoin and gold are uncorrelated with those markets, because they will do well if the equity markets do decide to pull back. Okay. So that's that. Let's move on. We'll take a quick look at Riot and Mara here. No, we're going back up. We got to go back up here. So Riot, again, they did see a significant correction back on Friday. Not surprising after such a strong week. So again, you guys, down 11% on Friday, not a big deal at all. Bitcoin is doing good right now, so that's important too. We'll look at Bitcoin right after this, just to give you guys a gauge of what I'm thinking in regard to Bitcoin. Because again, Bitcoin, the performance of Bitcoin will heavily impact, obviously, Bitcoin miners and the blockchain sector as well. Okay, so we'll take a look at that after, but this works right here, that we're already on a long-term time horizon. Look at what Riot's capable of. Just want to remind you guys of that. Always want to remind you guys of that. $45 back in 2017 when Bitcoin was hitting 20K. And with so many new retail traders in the market who want a piece, want a stake in these world-changing innovational companies, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And I'm not saying the financials will justify it, but the financials, again, you guys, the market and the economy, financials are different. They're in a different space, and I'm not saying I agree with that. I actually don't agree with that, but that's the reality of where we're at the markets. Story stocks kind of run this game, and the financials don't matter much. But I'm just saying, from a pure hype perspective, to be completely honest, and this is hype. It will be hype that causes Riot to reach levels like this, like it did in 2017. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it break beyond previous highs and set new all-time highs. $50, $100, I don't know. But yeah, Riot, still a tiny company. We're looking at a $130 million market cap. So, I mean, it could still 10x and just be a 1.3 bill, which then you're looking at like a $37, $40 Riot and just a billion or so. So again, you guys, the financials can't justify that, but I'm just saying, like, things can get crazy during a bull market, especially in crypto. Like, if you thought 2017 was nuts, if you experienced that, I think this time around is going to be way crazier. Okay, so very similar thing with Mara. Actually, no, sorry, I didn't even look at Riot on a short-term time frame. Let's definitely do that. So let's go to like the 3-month. We'll take a look at Riot on a short-term time horizon, if it loads. So again, I think Riot, similar to what I said Friday, I think we can, worst case scenario, we play out a head and shoulders here, come bounce off this lower line of support, which would be a pretty significant correction, but that would surprise me considering Bitcoin is doing well right now. And again, you guys, Bitcoin, Riot, Mara, Overstock, all these crypto blockchain focused stocks are correlated with the cryptocurrency sector, obviously. Okay, so if that sector is doing good, it makes more sense for me to be biased towards the bullish side. Okay, so again, I think we'll kind of play out a little, like, I think it'll be a slow start to the week. I don't think we're just gonna explode come tomorrow and the beginning of this week, but I definitely think that over the course of this week or a couple weeks, but again, you guys, very dependent on how well Bitcoin does and if Bitcoin continues to look towards the green side, I do think we could see Riot once again retest this upward trend line. This is a very solid line of resistance on this upward trend that it would surprise me if we don't retest it at some point in the near future. So I'm looking over the course of the next few days, couple weeks, at a $5 to $6 Riot. Like $5.50, $6 Riot is kind of my price range, and we will probably see a pullback after that, but I'm definitely looking for like a $5.5, $6 Riot personally. All right, so that's Riot. Mara, let's move on here. Mara is following a similar, just kind of upward trend. It did, again, on Friday, we did see a significant correction, significant pullback off this lower line of these lower lines of support. And remember, you guys, these trend lines never perfect. Just to give you a general idea of what's going on, general trend direction. And it would make sense to me just to continue this upward trend. This line of resistance here on this upward trend is strong as well. So similar to Riot, this is a strong uptrend, and it would surprise me if we didn't see it once again come up and retest this and just kind of bounce along in this channel, either until we get some really good news, or bad news. Okay, or Bitcoin does really well or really bad. Again, you guys, the performance of Bitcoin will heavily impact these sectors. Okay, so that is Riot and Mara. If it does break beyond this, I wouldn't be surprised to see an 8. This my next price target is around 877 right here. Again, you guys, give or take, this is never perfect. Will likely not be precise by any means, but these are just kind of my general ideas of what could potentially happen. All right, so that's Riot and Mara. Let's keep this ball rolling. You know, we'll look at, okay, yeah, gold and silver, duh. Okay, so gold and silver, we'll just take a quick look at these. Just to sum this up real quick, you guys, I'm a lot more bullish personally on gold and silver miners as opposed to physical gold and silver. We've seen such rallies in these, in physical gold and silver. So GLD, SLV are gold and silver trusts. That is, they hold physical gold and silver, and when you buy stake in the company, or when you buy a share of the company, you're pretty much just buying a share of the physical gold or silver that they have. So you are, in a sense, when you invest in these trusts, investing in physical gold and silver. I'm a lot more bullish on miners. Again, you guys can check out some recent videos I posted in regard to these miners. I did talk about some of my favorite gold and silver miners, but just stocks, AUI, AG, MAG, FSM, like all these guys, plus more. I'm very bullish on the gold and silver mining sector. They're not at all-time highs, while silver and gold are definitely at all-time highs. So we can look at GLD here. So this dates back to about 2005. And again, you guys, we're pushing all-time highs on gold. Makes perfect sense. Gold is God's money. Gold is stood the test of time as a safe haven asset. So it makes sense, again, in a world that is printing trillions in fiat currencies, that assets like gold and silver that retain value and store wealth and even grow your wealth are doing well right now. So that makes sense. As US dollar, as every other global currency declines, it's likely that these will do well. Okay, so gold is doing well. It's hard to be bearish against gold from a fundamental perspective, but I mean, just seeing a rally like this is never healthy. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a temporary pullback in both gold and silver. We'll take a look at silver quick. So silver is actually not, SLV is not at all-time highs. I'm sorry about that. So silver, I think, has a lot more potential upside in gold if I was to invest. I mean, my silver position is a lot larger than my gold position. Same goes with miners. So I will say that much. I think silver still has a lot more upside potential than gold, just from a historic perspective. So over the course of this next precious metals rally, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see silver reach its previous, at least SLV, I share Silver Trust, to reach, even break previous highs of $48 and hit like a $50 new high over the course. Again, this won't happen overnight. Obviously, not that would be preposterous, but over the course of 6 coming months, year or so. Again, it's very dependent on how the Federal Reserve continues to navigate this shaky economy. But again, I'm just, from a fundamental perspective, Bitcoin, gold, silver, safe haven, absolutely scarce assets that do have intrinsic value, I'm bullish on. Okay, so silver could, similar to gold, both these, just because they've gone parabolic, could see a short-term pullback, but long-term, medium-term, long-term, I'm bullish on both gold and silver. Okay, and again, even more bullish on gold and silver miners. All right, we'll call it there, you guys. Again, if you want to know exactly what my positions are, call options, put options, stock positions, and almost all the stocks aside from earnings that we talked about today, you guys can check out my complete portfolio, daily newsletter, first link in the description, exactly as it states, all calls, all puts, all stocks, all cryptos if you're into it. And along with that, I do send out a newsletter during market hours of every trading day, talking about the trades I've made that day, new positions I'm closing. I rationalize my thoughts as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I just give you guys more real-time updates of what I'm thinking about the markets as a whole. Okay, so again, check it out if you're interested at all. If not, no worries, but we will call it there, you guys. It should be an exciting week. Look forward to talking to you guys soon. And again, if there's anything that you're specifically excited about this week, please let me know in the comments. Always love talking shop, always love learning from you guys, so look forward to chopping it up down there. Until next time, you guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.